District Attorney Sandra Doorley. My name is Chris Chichester. I live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield. And I've lived here for 9 years. Your prosecutor said not one word in the nauseating star chamber of Penfield Town Court before John P. Lomenzo Jr. And I am delivered to Monroe County Jail as an innocent man. What is her name, Sandra Doorley? I am delivered to Monroe County Jail as an innocent man with the murderers, the rapists, criminal degenerates I never thought in my life that I encounter because of a 70-year-old hack who doesn't even know the charge. And your prosecutor stood in total silence. Your prosecutor made not one argument. What is her name, Sandra Doorley? I am adjudicated guilty by a 70-year-old corrupt hack that's releasing accused sexual predator Daniel DeLouse II in Penfield because this corrupt hack has a relationship with the father of DeLouse, and he doesn't recuse himself from the case. This is who I have to appear in front of, as your prosecutor says not one word, not one syllable, not one sound in the nauseating star chamber of Penfield Town Court. What is her name, Sandra Doorley? This proceeding ended in less than 5 minutes. Now I'm adjudicated guilty as an innocent man. And Deputy Andrew Reale is waiting for me from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Gertrude Stein said there is no there there. There is no there there with Andrew Reale. I go to the now defunct gym PW Fitness in Penfield. I'm at the back of the gym. I'm doing 3 sets of 10 on bench press. Up walks to me the gym psychopath, Jermaine Benman. I know how to identify the gym psychopath at the gym, and he's the gym psychopath. He motions with his hand for me to get off the machine. I never allow the gym psychopath to tell me what to do with the gym. I tell Benman, I'll be 30 seconds. I lean back and I continue the exercise. Benman stands over me. He punches down. My head snaps back. My hand prevents me from landing on the floor. This, Sandra, is called an assault. This, Sandra, is a crime. You don't know what a crime is, but this is a crime. You don't know what a crime is because I'm an innocent man delivered to the inferno of Monroe County Jail without your prosecutor saying one word. So I go outside with Benman and Andrew Reale. There is no there with Andrew Reale. There was nothing there from him. And I have seen him 50 plus times since he did this to me. And he has never once acknowledged that he did this to me because there is no there with him. Reale tells me to wait in his vehicle. I do. I'm sitting in the back seat of a Monroe County Sheriff vehicle of Sheriff Stooge Todd Baxter. And Reale is talking to Benman in front of me because Reale is coaching Benman what to say to me. And Reale knows me. And I'm going to get to that. So Reale marches Benman around to the side of the vehicle. And Bedman says, quote, I want to press charges against you, end quote. And that district attorney, Sandra Doorley, and your criminal existence is how I'm charged with harassment second. I have never harassed anybody in my life. I'm 54 years old. Every member of my family will confirm that, but your family's supposed to love you, and sometimes they'll defend you no matter what. So, every person that has ever met me will confirm that I've never harassed anyone because it's not in my character, it's not in my heart, it's not who I am. Every girlfriend will confirm that I've never harassed anyone, including beautiful, perfect Laura, who I live with in this residence right now, 26 Sandra Farm Drive. And I've known beautiful, perfect Laura for 30 years, going back to when I was in the Army. When someone knows you for 30 years and you live together and you have a romantic relationship and you love each other, they know you. Laura's the one person outside of my family that will say it's not in him to harass anyone. So, every single person I've ever worked with, when I worked on Capitol Hill as a U.S. House staffer and U.S. Senate staffer, will confirm they've never harassed anyone. I worked on Capitol Hill for 5 years. I worked in Albany for 7 years for Majority Leader and Governor. I'm a veteran of 2nd Squadron, 17 Cavalry, 101st Airborne Division. You're a soldier 24/7. So if you're harassing someone when you're not a soldier, you're going to be charged under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I've never harassed anyone. Never brought up on an Article 15 proceeding. I have never committed a crime. I walk home to my residence with this ticket in my hand that says harassment second. There's no there with Andrew Reality. He refuses to acknowledge what he has done to me with this. And he's not been fired by Todd Baxter. Todd Baxter is such a pathetic, corrupt, nauseating, vile, despicable human being that he knows that Andrew Reality did this to me, because I've told him this repeatedly. Registered mail return receipt, and Reality still has a job. I just saw him last week in his vehicle, and he talks to me like we're buddies. And I've seen him repeatedly every single time he talks to me like we're buddies. He never once has acknowledged doing this to me, even though I have told him to his face in my residence when he was here with another one of his deputy whack jobs for this situation next to my residence that I'm going to get to, that he's a disgrace. And there's nothing there from him. There is no there with this guy. And if he's doing this to me, then he's done this to other innocent Americans. So, harassment second. I don't know if you, Sandra, have a son or nephew that you love in your life. And what would you think if your son or your nephew or some other male in your life that you love is charged with harassment second? I'm saying male because in all likelihood, males are the ones that you ring up on harassment. So, Sandra, what would you think if your son, if you have a son, your nephew, if you have a nephew, or some male in your family that you love is charged with harassment second, sitting in the back seat of the Monroe County Sheriff's vehicle of Andrew Reality? How does this happen in the United States of America, District Attorney, Sandra Doorley? How does this happen? How does it happen that Andrew Reality walks into Penfield Town Court knowing he charged me like this before John Lomenzo, a guy who is a pedophile protection racket for Daniel DeLouse, and I'm just pronounced guilty without a jury trial? How do I go to jail without 12 people, 12 men and women, declaring me guilty? How does one 70-year-old hate-consumed human being send me to jail in less than 5 minutes? And how does your female prosecutor stand there in this nauseating star chamber of Penfield Town Court and allow this to happen? So, nauseating star chamber. I moved here in 2012 with beautiful, perfect Laura, and she is hired at the Penfield Public Library. So I'd go over to see her occasionally. And I'd walk in the front and see how she's doing. What I don't know is that even though Laura works there and I'm walking in the front, I do not know that at the end of that hallway is Penfield Town Court, and that's where John Lomenzo and James Mully are. How do I go to jail as an innocent man from inside a public library? This is George Orwell's 1984. So, I'm an innocent man, Sandra Doorley. And it's going to get worse. There's a strip of land next to my house. And for 5 years, there's no grass cutting going on. But there's a strip of land next to my house. Not once, not one time, no grass cutting. You following me here, Sandra? Am I making myself clear about the lack of grass cutting going on at my residence? Not one time. Sandra Doorley, the incompetent stooge district attorney. And there it is. So Sandra Doorley, I live right over here. Can't see it, but it's right there. And here's this strip of land. No grass cutting whatsoever. And suddenly, they're here all the time from Brock Hollow Tree and Law. That's because my dentist, Dr. Gloria Nichols, who was in the building at 2041 Penfield Road, left. And these bankrupt, pathetic, vile human beings, Layla Kumar and Neeraj Shah, move into the building. I've walked through that parking lot 4,000 times. There's no grass cutting. I'm walking through the parking lot one day, and I hear this screaming from behind me. And it's Neeraj Shah. He's losing his mind. He really is screaming at me. I turn around and I say, what's the problem? So we have this confrontation. He's not screaming at anybody else walking through the Holy Roman Todd K. Baxter parking lot. He's screaming at me. He doesn't exit his vehicle and talk to me with civility and decency. Because he's a whack job. That's why. Well, Sheriff Todd Baxter wants to nail me to the wall, so what he does is he goes to 2025 Penfield Road and he puts a camera on this building and wants to see if I walk through the parking lot. And what I'm going to tell you next is not fiction. So, what happens is that the sergeant from the Panorama Trail office, or Deputy Whackjob Savino, one of those guys, tells the guy in his tractor, get on your tractor and go by Chris Chichester's house, 26 Sanders Farm Drive. And then a guy named Steve Desmond, who's employed by Brock Hollow Tree and Lawn Care, that's the guy on the tractor, he's going to call the Panorama Trail office when I come outside. Shouldn't be on land that you don't own and can't prove you own. Do you agree with that statement, Madam District Attorney Sandra Doorley? That you shouldn't be on land you don't own and can't prove you own? And if there's no grass cutting going on alongside or behind my residence for 5 years, then I easily conclude that no one owns this land. So, I'm walking through the parking lot. Dr. Gloria Nichols sees me. She's not screaming at me. There's no grass cutting going on. Are you following me so far, Madam District Attorney? This is going to get even worse. My wonderful little guy I adopted from Lollipop Farm Humane Society is a Shih Tzu. And he's the best little guy. And if you have a dog, Madam District Attorney, I hope you love your dog, because that's the way it's supposed to be in this life. So, every day I take my wonderful little guy, I walk him along this land to get the land behind the residence, which you can't see. It's a large tract of land. There's nothing on this land. It slopes down like this, has rocks on it. This is an undeveloped land that there's nothing on. No one is going to confuse this with Oak Hill Country Club. So, if I'm walking my dog like this every day for 7 years and 4,000 plus times, I conclude no one owns that land. And Dr. Gloria Nichols, she was in that building, never once said anything to me before she was my dentist. She doesn't say, what are you doing walking that dog on my land? I own that land. Walk somewhere else. I would say, fine, I didn't know that. Since I've been back there 4,000 times. So, what I'm detailing to you, Madam District Attorney, is fanaticism. The fanaticism of bankrupt, inhumane, Layla Kumar and Neeraj Shah, and Todd Baxter unable to recognize bankrupt, inhumane Layla Kumar and Neeraj Shah. So, all I'm doing is walking to the parking like I do every day, like my neighbors do. All I'm doing is walking my dog every day like I always do, twice a day. I walk my wonderful little guy back there. He does it. It comes in. This is ordinary. So I take my wonderful little guy for his walk. And the back window from the Shah law firm flies open, and this overweight woman is screaming at me. And this is exactly the way Layla Kumar and Neeraj Shah are. This is the way these despicable people behave. And I'm thinking, why is this woman screaming at me? So I take my wonderful little guy in, and I walk over there. And there she is, this deuce and a half, sitting behind a desk. And I ask her why she's screaming. Now, I want to talk to Shah. And he's in the back, and he refuses to talk to me, even though his employee is screaming at me. So I can tell that she refuses to talk to me, and I leave. So Shah's in the back. He doesn't even come out and talk to me because he's afraid to talk to me. And, people, when you confront them about their inability to make a distinction between right and wrong and truth and lies and justice and injustice, they don't want anything to do with you. And that's the way Neeraj and Layla Kumar Shah are. They use Todd Baxter to get to me. He doesn't come over here and hand me the title and say, I own that land, stay off it. And I would say, fine. I didn't know you own that land because I've been back there 4,000 times, Madam District Attorney. Well, after I go in there to ask the deuce and a half why she's screaming at me, she or Shah already called animal control, and they're on their way to my house, and they're going to arrive here soon. And they're coming with 2 Monroe County Sheriff vehicles. So I come back to my house. I sit down on my couch where I can see this parking lot here. I can see everybody walking through that parking lot all day long. Madam District Attorney and Sheriff Stooge Baxter, where you put your surveillance device at 2025 Penfield Road. And Shah losing their minds about anybody walking through that parking lot. Only me. So where's my 14th Amendment right? The equal protection of law. So I walk my wonderful little guy. They're screaming. I want to know what's going on. What's the problem? People talk. People communicate. Sitting here on my couch, and there's a pounding on my door. And that's the way they announce themselves, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. They don't just ring the doorbell and knock. And I go to the door, and there they are. 2 vehicles. They're standing on my front lawn, and the animal control individual standing there with a pole in his hand with a noose on it. And he looks like the farmer in the American Gothic picture. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with these people? Do you own a dog, Madam District Attorney? Because what would you think if Sheriff Baxter's whack jobs showed up with American Gothic with his pole in his hand? They want your dog. You know what you would do, Madam District Attorney? You would do what I did. And what I did at the front door is I said, you're going to have to kill me to take my wonderful little guy from me. This is what they're doing to me in Monroe County. So, you know how I adopted my wonderful guy? When I lived in Webster with beautiful, perfect Laura, and we decided we wanted a dog nobody wanted. Now, I know how to take care of a dog, so we had a golden retriever in my house for 12 years that we got for Christmas, and her name was Ginger. And then when my sister and brother-in-law had their house, I watched their dog for 6 months when I lived in the old suburb of Guilderland when I worked in the capital. So I know how to take care of a dog, and like millions of people. I'm nothing special, of course. But when you go to Lollipop, you have to have an interview. Because they're not going to just give a dog to anybody that wants a dog. So beautiful, perfect Laura and I sit down and we're interviewed. And it's just as thorough as any job interview. And I told them in this interview, I had a golden retriever for 12 years in my family. And I watched my brother-in-law's dog. And, we want a dog that nobody wants. We want a dog that's here that we want to take home and want to provide a home for. And so Laura and I approved, and we walked through the cages. And I said to her, well, we can only pick one. So my way of eliminating dogs is any dog that's barking. Well, I'm not going to get a barking dog because I think that signifies some possible temperament issues. I don't know for sure. I'm not a veterinarian, but I didn't want a barking dog. So we go back to the cages, and there's a lot of barking going on. And Laura even said to me, there's a lot of barking going on here. So anyway, we walked by the cages, and he's sitting there, my wonderful little guy, and he's not barking, and he's looking up at me. He's looking right at me. And Laura says to me, he's looking right at you, Chris. And please adopt me, Chris. I'll be your best friend forever. I'll love you forever. You know, the first day you adopt me, I'll come and I'll put my head on your lap and I'll sit right next to you and I'll say I'm your best friend forever. And you know, if I had a Facebook account, I'd also be a Facebook friend because you know we're gonna be friends forever. So anyway, we adopted him. And he's been with me forever ever since. And this is the lunatic fringe existence of Todd Baxter, where he thinks he's going to take my wonderful little guy from me. What alternate universe does Todd Baxter live in? Because there's no dog owner that loves their dog and takes care of their dog and takes their dog to the vet and talks to their dog. And some people even allow their dog to sleep in their own bed. Now, that's not me, Madam District Attorney. I just want to put that on the record. You know, he's not in my bed. He has his own little dog bed. It's right over there. So, but people love their dogs. Because that's a beautiful part of America, to love your dog. And Todd Baxter wants my dog. And Layla Kumar Shah and Neeraj Shah, they don't come over here and say we own that land, don't walk your dog on my land, because they're using Baxter to get to me. And Baxter wants to get to me, and he has. This is what's happening to me in Penfield, New York. And you've been told. D. Harrington signed. D. Harrington signed. D. Harrington signed. D. Harrington signed. Maya Mastro Donato signed. Maya Mastro Donato signed. So, Madam District Attorney, I've heard nothing from you. Why? Conviction, integrity, unit. Is that right? A conviction, integrity, unit. I'm going to tell you something about your character, Madam District Attorney, that you don't understand and you don't realize. You have to possess integrity in order to recognize integrity. And you don't have integrity. You preside over a criminal organization. And I say you're a criminal organization because your public employees stood at that podium in Penfield Town Court and watched the abridgment of my civil and constitutional rights by this pathetic 70-year-old hack, John Lomenzo. Conviction, integrity, unit. If you lead your office with brilliance, with a commitment to justice, you don't need a conviction, integrity, unit. A conviction, integrity, unit is your confession that you are incompetent. So, all I did is go to the gym, and I'm attacked by this violent thug, Jermaine Benman. I go to Penfield Town Court. I appear before John P. Lomenzo Jr. I go to Monroe County Jail. Jermaine Benman appears before James Mullen, who walks out the door. How is it that the guy that attacks and assaults me, and I was going to respond to him by kicking him right in the balls, and he didn't, because Todd Baxter would have charged him with kicking him in the balls. That Benman appears before Mullen, and he goes home. Benman attacks me. I'm charged sitting in Andrew Reality's vehicle. I appear before Lomenzo, I go to jail. Benman, this violent thug, he appears before James Mullen. He walks right out the door. And when I got to Penfield Town Court, I had a subpoena. I was sitting there, and I've told you this before, and it doesn't matter. Because the facts don't matter. The truth doesn't matter to you. And I'm sitting there, and Mullen ordered the court employee to go ask, are you Chris Chichester? I said, yes, they ordered me out of the courtroom. Because there's a deal between your Monroe County District Attorney's Office and James Mullen to let Jermaine Benman go free. Sandra Doorley. What's my name, Sandra Doorley? Why are you Monroe County District Attorney? Why do you exist? Can you answer that question? Why do you, Sandra Doorley, want another 4 years in office? Can you answer that question? What is the truth, Sandra Doorley? Can you answer that question? What is justice, Sandra Doorley? Can you answer that question? I expect you to win re-election. It's obvious that you'll win re-election. And you will have another 4 years in office. And you will have another 4 years where innocent Americans appear in courts throughout Monroe County before your incompetent criminal public employees and have their civil and constitutional rights abridged. And this abridgment of their civil and constitutional rights will mean absolutely nothing to you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley.